All right, Razor, we're about to go live.
Support today is coming from the Hampton Inn and Suites.
I'll save the other
If you have family or
underwriting.
team members coming to Charlottesville for a visit, be a hotel near the hospital.
Get closer
If
to
you're listening from out of town
Don't
or
bother
for a
it.
visit,
Stir
the
it.
Hampton Inn and Suites.
Yeah, she projects stuff, so she should be good.
Oh, yeah, she's
I got a pretty loud voice.
Yeah.
I'm not a shy person.
Plus Wi-Fi everywhere. That's Hampton Inn and Suites University, right between UVA and downtown at 900 West Main, Charlottesville.
Generous support for this station today is coming from the FX Steakhouse. Go home in Charlottesville for down on the fare, including their signature steaks, grilled chicken, fresh seafood, as well as their bloomin' onion, plus all their appetizers, sides, and desserts. The Outback is now hiring for all positions. Applications accepted online at outback.com/careers or in person. The Outback Steakhouse in Charlottesville can be found on 29 North at Seminole Courts and always at outback.com.
Blue Ridge Services supports this station, just like they support customers all over Central Virginia for their HVAC needs, and have since 1976. Their professional staff can be ready when you have a problem or can set up an annual maintenance plan so that problems don't happen. Blue Ridge Services are also the folks to call for new business and residential installation, and are factory authorized reps for the Carrier line of HVAC equipment. You can learn more now at BlueRidgeServicesInc.net.
101 Jams and Chic and Classy Image Consultants present the second annual Soul Female Festival. By the X-Rock Park, July 12th through the 14th. From Elite Empire, Nova K, Lee Banger, Jockey, LT, DJ Almighty, DJ Sir RJ, 100 Proof Fan.
All right, we'll go on after this, sir.
Yep. Squad and more. It's open at 5 p.m. For vending, call 434-466-2198 or email djalmighty77@gmail.com. Use vending in the subject. Don't miss it.
IMHO Talk Show. Hey, Ron.
What's up, man?
What's good with you?
I'm good, man. Well, how you feeling, man? You got me feeling like I'm 97 Mason this joint. You gonna be doing something?
Oh, let me get this straight real quick.
Yeah, you got the little.
I think that's better. We'll figure that out. But yeah, you got Sir Charles. There we go. Got to get the board straight, y'all.
Yeah, shout out to
Feel
the
like it's been a
engineer.
minute.
Yeah, whoever the engineer is, you can fix the board. Oh, that's you.
Hush. Don't mess with me already. It's too early. We got, hey, Ron, we got Razor. You on? We're going to get him one.
Notorious R-A-Z.
He on there somewhere. They'll figure it out. But yeah, so we thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for joining us once again. A little rough start, but we're going to get through it, Aaron, like we always do about this time.
Blame the engineer.
You know how we shut up. We know, you know how we do, man. Hey, look, why don't you come over here and give me a hand?
I did. I was pressing buttons in my brain. So.
Yes, sir. But IMHO Talk Show. Y'all tell a friend. Sir Charles, AA Ron, Razor, Miss Max. In the booth in the building one more time, man. In Seaville, it's been such a lovely weekend. Even though we are on that, what they call the 5th anniversary of the A12, and there's been talk about that and celebration about that. But hey, we're gonna get into that a little later. Give you our humble opinions on that whole thing, AA Ron.
Yeah.
But definitely want to remind folks that Solar Seaville is still happening. Yep. So we have today, final day of the Solar Seaville weekend, the De La Roll that's going on from 1 to 4. Right, that roller skating, De La Roll with a little, like they funk it up a little bit. Got the music, roller skating.
Yeah, y'all make sure y'all get out there, man, because Charles gonna do his little usher moves out there for you. You go.
Man, do I need to cut your mic?
No, you want to show people what you got. Show them what you got.
Yeah, so you have that today, and Tunstler too, man. This sort of inaugural season of the Tunstler Basketball League is also coming to a culmination this weekend. So 3 p.m. is the back to school bash. 5 p.m. the Junior Tunstler Championship. 6 p.m. they're having 3-point and dunk contests. Street ball. Y'all be careful out there now. Wear your knee pads, elbow pads, and stuff now. All right, but that should be dope though. 7 p.m. is an all-star game powered by U-Train, and 8 p.m. at the end is the 2022 Tunstler League Championship game. Man, that That should be big for the city, y'all.
Yeah, city's been looking good. I've been seeing the highlights online. Everything's been out there safe. So shout out to the whole city and all the sponsors and all the leadership that's been able to create a wonderful event out there. And it's going to continue to be a great tradition in this community, man.
Yeah. So I am HO Talk Show Online, y'all, 101.3 here. If you're in a local listening area, tell a friend, streaming worldwide right now. And, we say all that to lead into our first guest for the day. But you good, Aaron? You ready? Ready to get
Listen,
business?
we have a legend in the building. I don't even know if I've been around this legend, this level of hoop legend ever.
and he's saying a lot because he's from Queens, New York, so he's seen some good ballers.
Just a few,
Just a few.
I got dunked on by Lamar Odom. I keep telling that story, but shout out to hello.
Is that your claim to fame?
That's my claim to fame. That was my career. This young lady got a little bit better career than that. She got she made a few buckets in her time.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna kick it off by giving y'all a little info. Y'all listen up. I'm gonna mention it again at the end of the segment. But it is time to lock in your 2022-23 Virginia women's basketball season tickets. All right, and it's led by first-year head coach Amaka. Is that how you say it? Amaka Mox. Hamilton. Well, I ain't gonna try that. You got to pronounce that name for me, Sam. Amaka Mox. Is that Agua Hamilton?
Yeah.
Well, y'all call her Coach Mox.
Coach Mox.
I'm gonna call
Shout
her
out to Coach Mox.
I'm gonna call her Coach
Mom
Mox.
called her Coach Mox. We're gonna call her Coach Mox.
But Amaka, aka Coach Mox, Agua Hamilton, I believe is how you say it. She's joined on the court by Ruckersville native and our guest, Sam Brunelle. The Cavaliers will host an exciting slate of ACC opponents at John Paul Jones Arena. Season tickets start as low as $50. Visit UVATix, that's TIX, UVATix.com to get yours today. All right, go Hoos. So as we said, without further ado, homegirl, she's back. She's back like she never left. Sam Brunelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back and good to be back home in the area and back in Charlottesville at UVA. It's great.
Good stuff. Yeah. And I want to thank you too, because way back in the day, you came on and joined us. And I guess like you were teenagers, like you were in high school still. Like
I was young.
You came.
I'm still young.
Yeah,
I'm really young.
See the way she said that, I'm like, damn, we real old, Sean. And I'm like,
I was about to say you definitely young compared to Andrew. But so back then, you came on and joined us because you were doing such great things, and glad to see success is continuing through it all. But for those that don't know, Sarah Brunelle is a Greene County native, and she's also a 3-time. Y'all, and listen to this good, y'all, because we weren't playing when we said we got star power here. 3-time Team USA gold medalist, 2020 Naismith Trophy watch list, 2020 and 2021 Katrina McLean Award watch list, 2-time Naismith High School All-American, 2019 McDonald's High School All-American, and 2018 Virginia High School Player of the Year. Sam Brunelle. All right, so first, what was that process? Like, how you feeling coming back home, and what was that process like? And for those that don't know, you can kind of give them the scoop on your first college experience at Notre Dame.
Yeah. So I initially had committed and signed and went to Notre Dame, and that's where I was the past 3 years. Coach McGraw recruited me there, as well as Beth Cunningham. She was my positions coach at the time. And so I got to play under both of them for my first year at Notre Dame as a freshman. And, we didn't have a great season, but I definitely learned a lot as an individual player. It's great to learn underneath a legendary coach like Coach McGraw, of course. Her and I were always really close, and, we're still close, and I value that relationship a lot. And then, I played for Coach Ivy. She came in for the last 2 years, so I played under her. And Michaela Mabry was my positions coach the last 2 years. So, and we reached a Sweet 16 this past year. So, I made strides over my 3 years there, from being, probably not great at all to being, a little bit better. And I was fortunate enough to actually graduate and finish up my degree over the summer there. So my diploma was mailed to me about a week or two ago. So I have that. I have my diploma, and Notre Dame do lock. So that's good. But yeah, I'm super excited now for the new chapter being back home. I feel like it's one of those things where, you know, if you're a very tight knit kid or a very homebody and you go far away, you either figure out, okay, I'm cool with being away from home, or you're not. And so I guess I figured out that I wanted to come back home,
Right.
You know, for lots of reasons. One, you know, I was missing home a lot. Two, you know, with Coach Mox coming in, a new crew, it was an opportunity to really help UVA get back to, you know, where it used to be with Don Staley era and,
That's right.
you know, all those really good times under W. Ryan and everything. So I'm excited to be a part of the process of getting this team back to where it should be and where it needs to be and where it will be. So I'm super excited for that.
That's what's up.
But yeah, so that's a little brief of kind of that.
Yeah, and I've met Coach Mox a couple of times. Lovely human being, and like I love the energy. So I can only imagine how that translates to the court. You know, I can't wait to see.
She's amazing. And I will say this, I entered the transfer portal like probably a week after the season ended at Notre Dame. And, you know, she was like one of the first people to reach out to me. And I barely really knew her. She tells me, we talked on the phone one time when I was a recruit because she was at Michigan State as an assistant. I guess I was really young when this happened because I'm having a hard time recalling that conversation. But, you know, it all came full circle and now I'm playing for her. But, you know, just super excited for that.
So you know, I heard you say something that really caught my attention. You know, I mean, of course, all the accolades, but you mentioned about how you had to become great, I think you said, right? Or
I heard that too.
I believe that's the terminology you used. So, you know, I mean, like with all those accolades and stuff, what was the sort of the turning point, or like, was there a particular thing that happened where you were like, wow, I got to step my game up? Was it a particular team you played, particular teammate, you know?
You know, I think for me, it was always, I've been a kid who desires to win and I hate to lose. And so that mentality kind of plays into me wanting to be great. So I don't want to be average. I always want to be great. And I was thankful to have parents who both played at the next level and they kind of already had that mentality and they've been there and they know what it takes. And so they instilled that in me. And, you know, naturally, I feel like I was always just born a competitor, which is good. You know, but they played a key role in instilling that in me. And I always just wanted to push myself to higher heights, bigger heights, and to always be better than I was the day before. And I think just that hunger and that drive to grind and the process and what it takes to be successful and to be great, I fell in love with that. And I think that's what you need to make it to the next level and to be great, is to enjoy the process of getting there. And that's what I feel like so many young kids don't understand quite yet. But if you can understand that, you're gonna be great one day. I promise you, you're gonna have days where it sucks, and I've had days where it just sucks. But then you sit back and you think, wow, it's gonna be special though, so it's gonna be worth it.
Ooh, that's words of wisdom, Aaron.
Wow. So Sam, you know, we really appreciate you being here. But one of the things you talked about being great, but obviously when you committed to going to Notre Dame 3 years ago, the expectations for that program are a little different than other programs.
Yes.
And when you walk through the door immediately, I'm assuming, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, we are trying to figure out how to win a national championship. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about going from high school to going into that mentality and being around that sort of culture every day? Was it difficult to embrace? Was it a little bit like, okay, wait a minute, I'm great, but they want to be excellent every day? Just talk about the mentality of that locker room.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. You know, we're not trying to be average people. And when I came in, it was interesting because their whole starting five had just gotten drafted that year, my senior year of high school, and then me coming in, like everybody was gone. So when I started there, we had 7 or 8 maybe scholarship players on the team. The rest were walk-ons. So my freshman year was very interesting because there were these expectations, but, you know, there was only 2 freshmen who came in. It was myself and Anea Peoples, who just transferred to DePaul. We came in together, and then we had 2 grad transfers come in, and the rest were from, like, previous years.
Right.
And so it was just an interesting year because we didn't really have people to look up to set the standard.
Right.
We had to grow up real fast.
Right.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, you know, I didn't have people to look up to and be like, this is how you set the example. I had to learn how to set the example for other people despite being a freshman and being 18 years old. And I think that was really good for me, though, because it made me grow up fast and it made me realize a lot of things. And like I said, being under Coach McGraw, I think that was the best scenario to be in, is playing for her in those circumstances. So.
Right. And then you had the one thing that athletes, everybody talks about the glory. Everybody likes to talk about the stats and the awards, but you battled through some injuries.
Yeah.
Talk about how the mental toll that took. Talk about not only the mental toll, but can you just talk about how frustrating? Because we had the reason why I want to mention this a little bit is because we have so many athletes out there, and they have never really missed significant time with an injury. Can you talk about a little bit about the frustration of rehabbing, not being able to actually get on the court, and then the mental stability it takes to actually just to prepare yourself to get into that?
Yeah, it was super frustrating, especially when you're, a competitor and you want to be great. Anytime that you have to sit out or be away from something that you love to do or something that is going to push you to get to bigger heights, it is a struggle. It really is mentally. And, my situation at Notre Dame mostly was with my knees. And, my freshman, it happened at UConn, our game at UConn. I felt like this just stabbing pain in my right knee and, ended up later on being in my left knee too. But they diagnosed me with what's called chondromalacia. So it's just the breaking and tearing away of your cartilage in your knees. And, they talked about scoping it. They never scoped it. But they tried this thing called PRP on me, which is like a blood transfusion thing. So they take blood out of your arm and they take the rich plasma out of it and re-inject it into an area of your body that needs healing. And it's like self-healing. But basically, I had that done going into my sophomore year, which is also COVID year.
Right. Oh my God.
And that year, that year was really rough for lots of people, but especially for me, it was very frustrating. But basically, I had a couple of rounds of that done while I was back home over the summer. Went back and they wouldn't let me run until almost November.
Wow.
Through that process, I then gained 30 pounds of weight. It was a struggle. I struggled with body image. I struggled, feeling good and getting in shape because I hadn't ran. I was basically getting in shape for me was practice and then playing.
Yeah.
That was really frustrating. So, it's mentally it does take a toll on you, but I think it made me stronger in the end because, after that year ended, I could have folded. I could have said, I'm done with this. Like, why do I need to try to lose this weight and get my body back to where it is? I could just fold. And I didn't. I was actually the most motivated I've probably been in a long time, besides right now, especially coming and starting a chapter. But I ended up, dropping 30 pounds. I felt the best I've felt since I've been at college. My body felt great. I was playing the best basketball ever. And, I had the year that I had this year and, I graduated and I said, okay, it's time for a change. And so that's how I came back here. So all of that adversity led me back home. So
that's awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. Just so many athletes, they never really talk about this. Rehabilitation is fun. It's a process. And I just want, and I know Charles wants to get back, but I just want people to hear. She said she wasn't even allowed to run. So if she's not running, you aren't turning, you're not doing you're not doing any player on player activity.
Right.
Like you are so sedentary, and imagine somebody like her that's just used to being out there competing all the time, and you've been restricted down to just basically walking. Like athletes need to listen to that process. Take care of your body. Listen to your nutritionist.
Do not overtrain people. I'm telling you, I did a lot of that early. I still probably could have been great and trained just a little bit less than I was, and now my knees suffer from it. So take care of your body, recover well, no matter how young you are. You might feel like you can do everything like Superman. I'm telling you, when you get to college, it's going to catch up to you, and you're going to start feeling it.
Hey, Charles.
I hear Razor on the line. You got something, Razor?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
How are you?
Doing good. Hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you. I've been seeing that little girl play basketball since she was in 3rd grade. And all the accolades that you listed, Charles, pale in comparison to the person that she is.
Nice.
Like, if there was ever a pure-hearted person, it's Miss Sam Brunelle.
That's what's up, man. Thanks for that.
And I think she dropped like 75 points on my Culpeper County Hospital.
Yes.
49, actually.
49.
Shots fired.
49.
Hey, you can go watch that game.
Sam, guess what? Trust me. We get reminded. She's like, oh, what's up? 49. And I think y'all only had like 60 something.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Oh my God.
Oh man. And that's the other thing you had me thinking. It's coming from Greene County, William Monroe High School. A lot of times folks make that decision whether they should go to a private school, whether public schools can prepare them properly, and not just even athletics, even academics as well, right? It's and then when you go, let's say someone goes from a William Monroe to a Notre Dame, even just for academics, it could be culture shock. It could be, I don't feel prepared, So what was your experience like? Was when it came to the competitiveness and like how you feel prepared, and like why didn't you maybe choose a prep school?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, it was a few things. One, loyalty is huge to me. And, I was talking about earlier being a homebody. My parents raised me great. My family is amazing and super tight knit with everybody. But I was very close with Greene County in general. Church every Sunday. And, I would always be close with all the people I went to church with, or I was a very outgoing social person. I was always meeting new people, and I feel like in Greene County, you're also cousins with like almost everybody. So, I grew up playing a lot of sports with all my cousins, and it was just, it was an environment that I thrived in and that I loved. And so that was huge for me. But, another reason I didn't leave was because for me, you're playing AAU. I played, heavy AAU most of all year round, until I got to high school, and then, the season's cut a little bit shorter. But most of your exposure is coming from AAU anyways. Right. And so to me, I didn't need to go to a private school because I felt like I was already getting exposure. I was still training, whether I was in school season or not. So I was training with the best, even if I wasn't in season AAU. And so to me, I didn't need to go to a private school to get more exposure. Because I was very blessed. I was getting recruited in the sixth grade. I had my first offer in 7th. And so I just didn't feel like that was something I needed to do. But for some people in their situations, that's the right thing to do. Yeah. For me, it wasn't. And that's personally why I didn't. But
Right.
Hey, Charles.
More words of wisdom. Y'all listen up, folks.
Man, you're just dropping so many jewels. So coming in to a new program, coming into a new journey, I think it would be safe to say, Sam doesn't have to say it, but the goal is for UVA to start to develop the winning principles and the winning identity that's very similar to the institution that you just left. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that you immediately are coming in? Some of your experiences that you can take from Notre Dame that are so important to helping you guys build the kind of roster that you want to have for the future?
I'm going to say this word: accountability. And accountability is what's going to either kill you or make you very successful. And that's accountability for each other as teammates. So that's accountability for yourself when you mess up on the court. I have conversations all the time with my teammates, like if they mess up, or especially point guards, because they have a really hard job. Absolutely. And especially if you're a freshman point guard, it's a really hard job because you're expected to do a lot. You're expected to run the offense. You're expected to be the voice on the court and direct. And sometimes you do things and it's not your fault. Like you make a good pass and they don't catch it. But it's sometimes you just have to take accountability for something that's not your fault and say okay and move on. Basketball is a sport of runs and gains and losses and mistakes being made constantly, right? Yep. Nothing's perfect in basketball, and I feel like a lot of us try to be perfectionists, and I can say I'm a perfectionist too. Like very competitive. If I miss a shot, shoot, why did I miss that shot? It should have gone in. But you have to have the mentality of I got to turn around and go get the ball that I just missed, and then come back and maybe we'll get another bucket. It's just, it's a back and forth game. And so accountability is huge. And that's on and off the court as well. Like the actions that you're doing off the court, they represent what you're doing it represents you as a player and a person. And, the university, right, where you're at. So accountability is huge. And that's something I really live and die by and that I've learned a lot about being at Notre Dame. So hopefully I can bring that to the team and, hopefully instill that in them that's very, very important.
Absolutely.
That's what's up, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to All-American Olympiad Sam Brunelle, back home, ready to kick off a season here at UVA with the women's basketball program. So let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and wrap up with Sam. We'll dig a little deeper into some women's basketball topics, to get some of Sam's thoughts. And I want to remind y'all that it's time to lock in your 2022-23 Virginia women's basketball season tickets, led by first-year head coach Amaka Mox Ugawa Hamilton. And join on the court is Ruckersville native Sam Brunelle. The Cavaliers will host an exciting slate of ACC opponents at John Paul Jones Arena. Season tickets start as low as $50. So visit uvatix.com to get yours today. Again, that's uvatix with the X.com. Go Who's. Sir Charles, Razor, Miss Max, Aaron. Be right back at you with Sam Brunelle.
How you feel? Feel good?
That was good.
That was good.
Yeah, we were rolling.
Yeah. How they finish last year in the ACC?
Like very awesome.
So I'm gonna say, I'm just thinking out loud.
Mhm.
If we could even finish middle of the pack,
That's
Here we go. IMHO Talk Show, Sir Charles, AA Ron Razor, Miss Max. And we are still here with our guest for first hour, Miss Sam Brunelle, the homecoming. It's the homecoming show for Sam Brunelle.
Yes, sir.
And and as we said, definitely support UVA women's coming from IMHO, and and UVATix.com. UVATix.com is where you can go to actually show their support as well, right? And just want to make sure another plug too. Reminder that the Tonsillar League ends today as well. Make sure y'all go out and support them this evening. Also, to close up Solar Seaville weekend, 1 to 4 at X Park, they're going to be doing the De La Road. Was it with the plug 1 and 2 say De La Soul from the soul, like medallions, no go.
You gotta play buddy. Pull up buddy, man. You gotta play buddy, man.
De La Road. So we wanted to come back with Sam to kind of, we kind of got the history for those who may not have been familiar, and for those who want to know, just kind of catch up with her and get excited for this season. But just women's basketball in general, there's so much going on. It's because there was a time, Aaron, to where it was a struggle to get the recognition, to get women's ball even on TV. Of course, to get, a professional league started here within the States. And in fact, there's, a lot of our best female ballers, they have to end up going across seas to actually really make money, to make good money from it. Right. So with all that's going on, one of the big things in the news right now, and as we get Sam's thoughts on all that, but is the Brittany Griner case. Which is very unfortunate. And one of the things that stood out to me that I didn't really care on how it was phrased by a lot of people was that saying people would use to say, if it was LeBron, A, B, and C would happen. It wouldn't have went down like this. You know what I mean? Which I feel like that statement itself is like unfair on so many levels, when we really should be focusing on justice for Brittany.
Yeah. She's a U.S. citizen.
And unfortunately, it looks like that the courts did charge her, and she could serve like 9 years. I know they're still working on getting that overturned. But the end of the day, besides everybody's opinion on it, and people even talking about, where there was a white female that had a drug charge in Russia and she was let go. We can get into all of that. But the fact of the matter is, and I've been saying it from the beginning, I feel she's a political prisoner. I feel like the timing was so unfortunate. Yeah. Being that what was going on with Russia and Ukraine and U.S. and everybody worldwide, she's an unfortunate political prisoner is why I feel like this happening to her. But just from the basketball perspective and your support, for her, Brittany, I'm sorry, Sam, what's some of your thoughts about that, about that Brittany case and the effect and the attention you think it's giving to, to her as a woman athlete?
Yeah, it's super sad. Nobody ever wants to see something like that happen, especially to somebody as talented, as special as Brittany, especially somebody who has represented the Olympics. She's been on the Olympic team, I think a couple times at least, maybe more. And she's given a lot to the country and a lot to basketball. And so, seeing that is just super sad because she doesn't deserve it. I think they charged her incorrectly. I don't believe 9 years is what should be happening. I believe she should just be back here, honestly. Get her out of Russia. It's not a great place to be right now. Leaving the country right now kind of sounds a little scary, to be honest, because of everything that's going on. But, not only has this affected her and her family, but for people who do follow the WNBA, like her team, the Phoenix Mercury, they've really struggled the whole year, and this has taken a huge toll on them and being able to perform at their best. The day that they announced her, her trial and everything, and having to serve 9 years, the Phoenix Mercury were so expected to play that night. I watched.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And I watched a press conference after with Skylar Diggins, and somebody else was in it too. And
who just walked away, and Skylar just walked away from the team as well.
Oh yeah, it's really sad. It is. Yeah. It's crushing to see this affect so many other people too that are close to her and her family and basketball, and they just care so much about her, and I think it's really taking a mental toll on so many people right now. And I can't imagine what it's doing to Brittany and her family, but definitely even the people around her. So It's crazy.
Yeah, well, definitely prayers up to her and her family for sure. And the other piece of that too, like your aspirations, we didn't kind of get into that, but is this like your dreams and your goals for basketball when you look at the landscape for women professionally, like what's your goals in that regard?
Yeah, so I have 2 years left here. I'm going to be taking both of them, and then hopefully after that, would love to get drafted. That's my goal. So I'm going to work hard to make that goal and that dream. It's also a dream, and make that happen. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but that's nothing that I haven't already been doing. Working hard and trying to get better every single day, and learning from mistakes and getting better. But I would love to keep playing professionally after school's done, after I get my master's, and that's always been a dream. So I'm super excited to see how the next 2 years go for me, and working towards that dream and goal. So
it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yep. Definitely continue blessings for you, Sam, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been great.
Thanks for joining us. And as family,
I got to ask one question before you go.
Please go ahead.
All right. Favorite female basketball player of all time. Favorite male basketball player of all time.
Good question.
Elena Deladon
She's
plays for the Washington Mystics.
She's a bucket. Yeah.
6'5" beast.
Yeah.
Definitely my favorite women's basketball player. And then I love Larry Bird. I think he's awesome.
33. That's right.
33
It makes
with the
sense.
green and white. I played at Monroe, so I love that
Do
green
you
and
talk
white.
like Larry? Do you talk smack like Larry?
I don't talk smack, but if you get me mad, that's not a good thing. Make sure my elbows are in.
That's all good.
But yeah, those two probably definitely my favorites.
Deladon
Respect
and
their
Larry.
games a lot.
Shout out to Larry Legend, man. Shout out to Larry.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, well, continued success, Sam, and definitely don't be a stranger. Stay out here. Hey, look, we might have to throw a draft day party or something.
Yeah, we
got
see what's going on. Yeah. So as we have been talking to Sam Brunelle, welcoming her home back here to UVA. And as we said, if you want to go out and support, definitely check them out, uvatix.com, and support our women's basketball program. Shouts out to the whole program over there, Coach Max. A lot of new folks over in the athletic department with a lot of great energy. So let's get behind them, Seville. And we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to get ready for this next hour, y'all. And we got much more show coming. And Seville's much more for y'all out there this weekend, too. This Solar Seville weekend, De La Rola X Park, 1-4. The Tonsillar Basketball League wrapping up today with a bunch of festivities. Since we're on the basketball tip, go ahead and give y'all that list again real quick. It's Champion All-Star Weekend, 3 p.m., Back to School Bash, 5 p.m., Junior Tonsillar Championship, 6 p.m., 3-point and dunk contest, 7 p.m., All-Star Game, 8 p.m. is the 2022 Tonsillar League Championship game. So, hey, y'all stay tuned, though, because it's your number one for interactive hip-hop and R&B, WVAI 101 Jams, IMHM Talk Show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was
Stay
so
healthy.
fun.
Have a great season.
Absolutely.
Whoop some ass.
Oh, we don't.
I was like, yeah, we have Miss Nervous Shayla here today.
Right.
What I heard, right?
Here we go.
Only on 101.3 Jazz.
I to the ism, H to the Izzo talk show. Sir Charles, A.A. Ron, Razor, Miss Max. Still here in the booth in the building for you on the flagship station WVAI 101.3 Jams, your home for today's and classics, interactive hip hop and R&B. And man, we're gonna keep the hits rolling, A.A. Ron.
That's what we do. Keep it rolling, rolling, rolling.
That's right. That's right. Another beautiful Sunday. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate it. And you know, as advertised, we are next going to be speaking to therapist, counselor Shayla Ferris, and we're so happy to have her here with us today. Shayla, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you both for having me here.
Yep, no problem at all. So you are a part of the Central Virginia Clinicians of Color Network, right?
Yes. So I've been a part of that network now for going on 3+ years now. So a great, awesome network to be a part of. I'm Black clinicians in the Charlottesville area. So
Nice. Yep. So I think this is a great time to have you in because, you know, when I was looking at your website, it looks like you offer a lot of great services when it comes to people in general, but families as well, you know. And of course, this is a weekend where it is 5 years from August 12th, from A12. So there's a lot of emotions running through people right now. And as I mentioned, you know, we've had, you know, a lot of your colleagues on, Shelly, Jean, Ebony.
Oh, shout out to Jean.
Yeah, Nick. Like, you know, Nick, right?
Nick, shout out to Nick.
Nick will probably chat in a minute. He'll probably call
Nick
in.
might come to the door.
Yeah, he might come to the door. So, yeah, and you know, and also with the political landscape right now as well, folks, you know, have been want to hear more about the, you know, support for women and families, and you know, when it comes to particularly the abortion law. So, you know, let's kind of break the ice though. Like when it comes to your work, like tell us your passion. Why are you so passionate about this? What makes you, you know, like so good at what you do? And like sort of what led you to this field?
So my passion is really working with couples. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Virginia and a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist in Maryland. And so just being able to facilitate conversations and create a safe space for couples to really be able to navigate through just the complexities of what's going on in the world today is really important. And that's really what my passion is to really be able to be a facilitator to allow couples to have conversations that are going to bring them closer together.
That's what's up. Like now, y'all ain't using no ecstasy or nothing, right? To bring the couples closer together. Because I heard that's how it got created. Aaron. Am I lying, Aaron?
That's just what Charles wanted in his therapy session.
Aaron, am I lying? Like, there was a doctor in Texas that came up with it because he was trying to get couples to open up. That's how ecstasy started. The more you know, Aaron, the more you know.
I don't even want to know who that doctor is. We talking to Shayla.
My bad, Shayla. I digress.
That is okay. No, but I mean, from my perspective, I just think that in the therapy setting, you know, being a therapist, you'll be surprised how many couples come to therapy for the first time and really rarely have one-on-one conversations about what it is that they want from their relationship and also what it is that their relationship is missing.
Right.
And so just being able to help facilitate that is, to me, you can just see changes in couples. You know, couples report an increase in intimacy, an increase in connection.
Right.
And I think that that's just, I enjoy being a part of that and being able to witness that change.
You know, I heard something. I heard something this morning. I was driving here, and it was like life changing for a minute. And a guy said, I don't know why when couples argue, they say somebody won or lost the argument. Because he said, if you're in a relationship, if the girl won the argument, the relationship lost.
Yeah.
If the guy won the argument, the relationship lost. Why is it so hard for people, number one, and we're talking about in the Black community, why is it so hard for us not only to embrace therapy, whether it be marriage counseling, individual therapy, but why is it so hard for us sometimes to have honest conversations with ourselves?
Mhm.
Because I always think that everything starts from the individual. And like we were talking a little bit off air, sometimes I have to say that the problem is me. It's not my kids. It's not my spouse.
Right.
It's not the world. It's me or how I'm responding. Why are we people, and I think that we are embracing it a little bit more, but as a community, very hesitant to talk to third parties, to get in groups or healthy spaces. Why do you think that's been so hard for us?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a complicated answer. And, one perspective I have is that I think that it's important to note that, there's been a stigma around seeking mental health support in the Black community for years, right? And so only recently have, African Americans started to feel more comfortable, seeking mental health support. And so I think that it's also important to know, and we also talked about this off air as well, that, therapy is not a one-time thing, right? It's really creating your therapeutic support team, right? To where that support is outside of your social network, your friends and your family. And they're really a professional that you can really feel comfortable going to, talking to. And so I think that's one piece of it, but also talking about, why couples just find it so difficult, especially when they're arguing to get into this space where they want to, one person has to win, right? I think one thing that's important to note is that when arguments happen, right, our body kind of goes into defense mode, right? And so when you're in that mode, your brain is not in a space to where it can logically comprehend what's going on.
That is so important.
Right? And so you may find yourself trying to communicate your needs to your partner, but your partners are not in the space where they can hear it.
Right.
And you're not really in the space where you can even communicate it, really openly. And so a lot of times when I'm working with couples, I highly encourage them to set aside a day and time each week where they're using it to check in, right? Not just check in on problems,
just talking,
but talking with each other, right? What is it that you're needing from your partner? What do you appreciate about your partner, right? Because that's another thing. It's important that relationships aren't so problem focused, right? You have to also
speak to that.
Share.
Speak back to the wait. Don't rewind and select out. Rewind and select out. Look, I told you she was gonna be fine. I want you to. I really want you to talk about not being so problem focused, because there's a reason why you said that, and I'm assuming it's because when the people that you're engaging in are coming into your office, that's there's a pain point there with everything. Talk to us a little bit about what you mean by being so problem focused as a unit or as a couple.
So, I just think about, for example, if you are doing something every day, for example, maybe you're cooking your partner dinner, over and over, it becomes a part of a routine, right? So where your partner may just automatically think that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? But for you to hear, wow, I really appreciate it. You taking time after you just worked all day to come in and make me dinner, right? Don't let those little things get lost and saturated with all the problems and issues you have. And that's not to say not to talk about the problems, because that's also important, but it's equally as important to remember, that people don't have to do certain things, right? You don't have to cook dinner every day. You don't have to do X, Y, and Z. And when you are just reminded or appreciated for that, you're like, hey, thank you for noticing me. That makes you feel better. It makes you feel more motivated to do more of that.
You want to serve.
Right.
All right, fellas. So make sure you thank your ladies for making you them ramen and hot dog meals when they come home. She deserves that love too, right?
Yeah. Now, to Aaron's point too, there's that saying, "Happy wife, happy life." Do you subscribe to that? Because actually, like happy spouse, happy house. Like, why is that saying more used when it's wife focused? Like, you subscribe to that?
Talk to him, Charlie.
So I
talk to him.
No,
hold on now. Say it again.
So I subscribe more to a balance, right? I think that just as well as I want to be happy, my partner wants to be happy.
Absolutely.
Right? And if my partner's happy, I'm going to be happy, right? And so if both of you are feeding into that dynamic, then everybody has each other's back. You both have each other's back. It's not just it's not just focused on one person, because eventually that's going to get tiring, right? If you're the person that's always receiving that praise, that love, that, everything is focused on you, your other partner is going to eventually get tired, right? And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
that may not be now, it may not be a few weeks from now, but eventually that's going to happen.
Everything takes a toll.
And so it's important, right, to make sure that you're considering each other, right? Not saying, I'm not happy wife, happy life one way or another, but I'm just saying it's important, to make sure that you both are looking out for each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
spot on,
Absolutely.
spot on. We are joined by therapists, and what, what's the correct title? Do you prefer a therapist, counselor, psychologist? What?
So I'm a licensed therapist.
Okay, therapist, Shayla Ferris, and dropping gems. Like this is your element, Shayla. Like I know you were saying you don't have much experience on the radio, but like just hearing you talk and seeing your work, like this is your element, and I'm sure our listeners are definitely appreciative of that. So you talked about a focus with for couples and whatnot, and as we stated, Roe versus Wade was overturned. Now states still, as we see, are in the litigations to be able to see what that means for them, right? As individual states. So it looks like Aaron for Virginia, the General Assembly next year, looks like Governor Youngkin has a bill that he's trying to get proposed, to where it looks like he's trying to mediate a little bit, Aaron. Like he's not trying to be overly conservative about it, but it definitely will restrict the availability of abortion. And we know that's a strong issue. So Shayla, one thing that our listeners actually wanted was us to to actually talk about that a little more, because we've had ladies from Sister Circle on here before, the Women's Health Initiative, all that, and so I'm not sure if you have experience with that in particular, but when it comes to dealing with mothers and women and the emotional toll, and if you want to speak to the political piece, feel free to do so. But when it comes, I'm curious on if you've seen that in your office on the stress behind women and women's health and them feeling like that you have government trying to control what they do with their bodies and just like ways to approach that.
Right. So I certainly think that it's affected people differently, right? But from what I've noticed and seen through my work is really a contribution to anxiety and uncertainty, right? So anxiety is often created as a cause of, feeling that loss of control, right? And so when you no longer have a choice, that causes those feelings of anxiety to flare up. And really that's what I'm seeing in my office, just people really feeling like they don't have a choice. They don't, that their control of choice to make a choice is being lost. So an increase in anxiety and people just really wanting to know, okay, what next, right? How do I keep my voice? How do I keep my choice, through all of these changes that are going on now?
Yeah. That's definitely good input. The and this is definitely a touchy subject, but I think so many of us have been here, and you leave it up to us, IMHO, to talk about it. But a lot of times people talk about the preemptiveness of of that whole choice, like when it comes to someone's well-being, right? Because that's what I hear a lot. Like whether it's the mental health, the physical health, or whatnot, it's people say, hey, if I feel like that is best for me and my family, or best for me and my relationship, to go through whatever this procedure may be, that's what I'm going to do. But a lot of times people don't talk about the impact afterwards, right? Because there's like whether we're talking about abortion in particular, right, Aaron? It's like whether the impact after, whether you went through with it or you did, right? At one point, that was a strong personal choice that you had to make, right? And so, like, I would love for you to touch on maybe words of encouragement, or like maybe some coping skills for those folks who've been through that,
right? Who've
been through that process, and they may be having regrets either way.
Right. So I would say again, each person is different. The most important thing I would say is making space for your feelings, being able to talk about your feelings, whether that be with a trusted support member, a friend, a family member, but also, a supportive therapist, counselor. There are groups, find a space where you feel safe to be able to talk about what you're feeling, what's going on. And also self-care. I'm a huge advocate for taking care of yourself. And what that looks like is really, I think the word selfish is often used, in a term of
Negative.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
in a negative way. But you have to have you
Absolutely.
before anyone else has you, right? And so
yes,
making
yes.
sure that you are prioritizing yourself, what you're needing, whether that's, a day off, whether that's, being able to go out with a friend or family member, just taking that time for self-care, but also having a strong support system, right? There's so much going on in the world today. There are a whole bunch of feelings associated with everything that's going on. And just really, I can't stress enough, having people close to you who are able to support you, are able to help hold you accountable, are able to, just sit with you when things are difficult, having that strong support system, because you're not in it by yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to shift over to, because you mentioned something about safe spaces, and there's a few incidents that if people look online that have happened in the last couple of weeks that have just been really devastating between couples. There have been issues of suicide, people being burned to death, just all these different relationship things. And one of the things you and I were talking about offline a little bit is having accountability and being able to understand that my partner is not my therapist.
Right.
My partner is not the person that's going to solve all my problems. And every time I see some of these stories, Shayla, I always just think about, what if there was just a phone call that could have been made, or just a text message that says, "Hey, bro, I'm tripping," or "Hey, sweetheart, look, this dude over here is tripping. I just need, can I just have an objective conversation?" Because I'm always thinking that could save a life.
Yes.
That could save some additional form of trauma. Just talk to, and I know we're sounding redundant, but just talk about, for people, just individuals, not even how important it is to just reach out and to have safe spaces or individuals, or whether it be a group or a good friend or somebody else. The support system that you've been talking about to me is really, really important, because my support system can be Charles. He can prevent me from making a great decision or from making a poor decision. That's something that can devastate me for years to come, just by having a 2-second conversation. Talk about how not only just having those safe spaces is important, but also the importance of having a third party, like a therapist, like reaching out to different hotlines and like BetterHelp. There's all these resources, but some of this trauma can be prevented. I just want you to talk a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think, something important just to throw out there is that, certain emotions are heavy.
Yeah.
When you talk about things like anger, grief, sadness, those things are heavy. And so just recognizing, that your partner, depending on their day, depending on what they're going through, they might not always be in the emotional space to be able to be the support that you need. Right. And so, when you're having a hard conversation, or you need to have a hard conversation, doing a check-in with them, say, hey, are you in a space right now to have a difficult conversation? Right. But also, knowing that if your partner is not in that space, I think that's where it is important that if you do have that mental health support, that your therapist or your counselor or your mentor or whoever that may be to you, can help fill that gap, can help, with being able to just create a safe space to be able to talk about issues, so where it's not just falling on one member of your support system to help you navigate through all of that.
Right. And then one other thing, and I forgot to mention it, and I know Charles will agree with you, even how we communicate with our children. Because I know as parents, when you were giving the example earlier about having an argument, and that hit me directly, because sometimes when you're arguing with a child, the ability to think or the ability to kind of work through, neither one of you are. Right. And I'm thinking like that, when you're going back and forth with your kid, and if you have parents, maybe you're those parents that don't go back and forth with your kid. I don't know what y'all doing, but send it in so we can all do it.
Yeah.
But some of us, if you have like altercations or just interactions with your children, I think what you just mentioned is so important, is to realize that neither one of you in those moments are having the ability to think through this situation correctly. Did I hear you correctly, or am I assuming that correctly?
No, that's correct. That's correct. And I think that there's also, I feel like a need sometimes to have to fix things right there.
Yeah.
right? It's not to
Go
say
deep
that
on
if you have a concern, that concern isn't valid and shouldn't be handled, right? Or navigated, right? But there's just a time and space to do that.
Right.
If you find that you are overly angry or, overly emotional, maybe just taking a second, right, to be able to create a safe space, again, to have a conversation
Right.
where both the person that you're trying to communicate with and you're able to hear, what's being asked of you and communicate what it is that you're needing.
Yeah. Now, isn't there something to be said about anger though? Because there's two things that sometimes bring out the truth in people:
Mm-hmm.
when they drunk and when they angry.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we navigate that? Because I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. But the only reason I'm pushing back a little bit is because sometimes when you have that controlled environment,
Mm-hmm.
people sometimes are being coached a lot.
Right.
But when you pissed at me, right, then sometimes the truth comes out. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that it's a complex question and issue, right? Because again, anger is one of those strong emotions that I talked about. And I think that there's two pieces. One, an accountability piece, right? You have to be aware of what emotion you're dealing with and what happens to your body, right? When you're navigating that emotion. And not a lot of people have that level of self-awareness. So again, that's where a support can help you, can step in and help you navigate through all of that. Because if you're angry and you go off and do something, right, there's a consequence to that.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to be able to be in a space where you're like, okay, this is what it looks like or feels like in my body to be angry or to be upset. Right. And what are some healthy ways, right, that you can, it's not saying that you don't have a right to be angry, right? It's just how do you deal with that anger in a way where you can understand what you're needing. And then you can also get yourself back to a space where you're mentally safe.
When I'm angry, I start cleaning. I seriously, look, if somebody wanted the cleanest house ever, just make me angry. I start sweeping, dusting, bleaching, I'm wiping down, drywall, everything. But she's right, because I noticed that was a way, I don't want to yell anymore. I'm just going to scrub this table and just, that relaxes me.
Right.
So you got, like, I think Ms. Ferris is correct. You got to figure out what's your thing.
Right.
To help you relax and calm down. And even if the person that you're arguing or having an interaction with is saying, you always clean, look, me cleaning is keeping me from telling you smell like French fries. So let me clean. So let me clean. Oh,
so family, we are joined by licensed therapist Shayla Ferris. And Shayla, we're gonna take a quick break if you don't mind, and then when we come back, appreciate you. When we come back to close, we'll address the emotions that the city is feeling right now on this 5 years since August 12th, 2017. So y'all stay tuned. Tell a friend, tell a friend. It is IMHOTalkshow.org, streaming worldwide, y'all. IMHO Talk Show online, and we are WVAI 101.3 Jams, your home for today's and classics, hip hop and R&B.
You're listening to
ain't bad.
only on 101.3.
Why not even nervous anymore?
Yeah, hello. I told you that.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles A.A. Ron, Razor Miss Max. We are joined by licensed therapist Shayla Ferris. And, we talked about her passion within her work of helping couples and relationships, and a lot of that conversation, A.A. Ron, was led down that path of dealing with emotions. And we know this weekend is very emotional worldwide, nationwide, and particularly for our city. Our city here in Charlottesville it is the 5th anniversary of August 12th, and as we said, I'll give you our thoughts on that, but definitely thoughts and prayers, to all those who are really feeling it, who remember that day and who were here, and all that you may be going through. And so, Shayla, just when you see huge impact, and let me break it to you like this, because I would love to get your insight and input on it, because it's so faction. You have the folks who are already dealing with the mental trauma of racism, of the imagery, right? And then you have the people who are dealing with the physical trauma and mental trauma of being there that day 5 years ago, right? And now you have the aftermath of it being so politicized, of like news organizations running with it and using it, as a talking point, when there's people who really, really were hurt and really, really are still hurt by that, and so I don't even know if Shayla, if in your line of work you've had to deal with something like that significant, where it wasn't just personal, to where it was something to where people turn on their TV and they just have to hear so many opinions about it, and nobody knows how it's affecting them personally. But I would love to get your thoughts and on that and your word to the city of Charlottesville on that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to just keep in mind is to just take care of yourself, right? Again, going back to that self-care, going back to having that support, because what you named sounds a lot like trauma, right? Just having to experience something over and over again. And that can be hard. It can be hard for anyone to navigate. And that's why I think it's just so important, to take care of yourself. That would be my biggest message, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Have a support system that you're able to talk to, that you feel close to, and just also, keep in mind, what it is that you're needing, and create a space for you to be able to, just, take breaks, stay with support, just do what you need to take care of yourself.
Thank you.
So, and I appreciate that, Shayla. So along those lines, there's something that I'm gonna call it the elephant in the room.
Okay.
That a lot of people don't talk about, but I'm going to talk about it because I've talked about it before. And the necessity for Black professionals to get therapy based upon some of the work environments that we work in. And the reason being is that, I've been very vocal about the fact that typically in the rooms that I'm in professionally, I am typically the only Black person.
Thanks.
And that took me a few years to even learn how to navigate through that, because there was a lot of self-doubt. There was a lot of lack of confidence, but also I didn't feel like myself. And it actually took me to start getting around other colleagues like Charles, and they don't even know that they did it, for me to start feeling more like myself again, because I started to get lost in these environments that are primarily European white spaces. And it's something that we don't talk about, because we feel that there are consequences if we don't talk about it. And I know I talk to a lot of Black professionals constantly that when they go home, they're like, man, it's either they don't know me, the people they don't know me, they don't respect me. Am I just a Black guy here because you need one? Is it based upon the fact that I'm good at what I do? Or is it based upon the fact that you need me here? And for me, that was a real thing until I developed my own self-confidence. And I'm like, no, I can compete and whoop everybody ass in here. Excuse my French. But that's for professionals. Because I know sometimes we talk about therapy. We talk about just marriages, things of that nature. But talk about how important it is because you're a Black person, just for Black professionals if you're feeling that way, how important it is to talk to somebody about the environments that you're in.
Right, right. Yeah, that it is very important, because, many of us do have that experience,
Mhm.
right? And so just knowing, that you're not in it alone, right? There are other professionals, and it's about networking, right?
Right,
And so,
right.
I talk about the Central Virginia Clinicians of Color because that network in and of itself, was made to create spaces
For the same reason,
for the
right.
same reason,
Right.
right? And when you become a part of that network, you just feel included. You feel, like things are going to be different, right? And so, I just think that it is extremely important. If you're having those feelings, reach out to someone, right? I always say that if you decide to move forward with therapy, then you need to go with the therapist that's going to be best for you, right? And so, even if you're working in the space and you need to have a therapist that looks like you, that's okay. To be able to
Say that again.
to
That's
say
okay.
That is okay.
Mhm.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
spot
that.
on. Yeah, thank you for that insight. And the like when it comes to the the assimilating and code switching is what I was hearing Aaron say.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. It's like that sort of like denying yourself. It's like how, like, do you think that's unhealthy? And that's sort of well, for one, that's an open question, to both of you, but definitely you, Shayla, is that I feel like that's something that's been so normalized, right? It's like that we're supposed to assimilate to like societal norms, right? And then a lot of times that means even and sometimes we do it subconsciously, but as Black people, we code switch because that's what makes everybody in the room comfortable. And whether we want to admit it or not, it even makes us feel better sometimes too, because then we feel like that we're fitting in.
And you really just.
But is that healthy?
But you fitting out. But I want Shayla to answer.
Yeah, I don't think that I can say, that it's healthy or unhealthy. I think that it is, in some points, can be viewed as survival. Can be viewed, as what we've been conditioned to do, but also, what that person feels is best for them at that time. And so I just think that it's important when you talk about, just again, I know I talked about feelings a lot during the segment, but if you find yourself, increasingly just going to work and you're just in a different space every time you're there, it's taking some time to like step back and self-evaluate what needs to change in order to change the situation. What do I need to do for myself in order to put me in a better space?
Yeah, I know for me, it's okay before you walk into your client meeting and you playing Meek Mill Dreams tonight. You're gonna get a good.
You're getting ready.
I'm just saying, but I'm telling you, like, those are things, because a lot of this is not just race, a lot of it is cultural.
Right.
A lot of it is just cultural, and we just have different traditions, how we communicate, just how we are. And sometimes when we get in these environments, it's almost like we don't want to embrace our cultural because they're not our culture. And it's not a good or bad thing. Right. It's just difference in culture. Right. And I just want people to embrace who you are. Right. Be yourself. Right. That doesn't mean you're unprofessional. That doesn't mean you're not good at what you do. Right. But be who you are. Yeah. That's just extremely important.
Yeah. You're right, man. Yeah. And and on that A12 sort of tip as well, because I really think it all does fit in. Shayla, the question that I have for you is, like, how do you discern sort of in your practice on what to meet head on and sort of what to let go, so to speak? Because the one thing about A12, which is, if you look at the relationship of the human race that came to a head on A12, is like a lot of relationships of couples, because you had people who were deciding to do alternative things and just avoid it and ignore it. And you have people that was like, no. The only way we're gonna fix it is if we meet this bad boy head on.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? So how do you discern, on like sort of, I guess, choosing your battles, so to speak?
Yeah. So again, I think that's complex as well. Each couple, that I've seen in therapy, they each have their own individual goals. And so, within my role, that's something that I allow the couples to determine where they want to start in their process. Because again, the mental health journey, or when you're seeking therapy, it's not often a one-time thing, right? It's a process. And so determining, where in this process do you want to start, right? We have a list of all of these needs and things that we need to go over.
Mhm.
Where do you all want to start in this process? And so just, creating again a space where that's a choice that the
Mhm.
couple can make together to decide and determine where they want to start in this.
Thank you.
Last question, because we've been talking so much just about we want you to give us the gem. We basically sitting here like, hey Shayla, fix my life today.
Hey, so for free 99.
For free 99. Look, Shayla, Shayla about to rip me a new one. Tell me to get out.
Now, before you go, we definitely plug your practice.
Yeah,
After Aaron's.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because it's one of those things. What does the therapist do what do you do for yourself?
Yes.
Because this is very heavy.
Right.
It's weighing, and so what do you do for yourself? What are ways that you figured out for yourself over the years? All right, sometimes I need a break. Sometimes on a Wednesday, ain't nobody coming in here. I'm going to get some coffee.
Right.
I'm going to get just talk about things that you found that have been healthy for you just working through this process.
Right. Well, number one, I would say not feeling guilty about, all the things that you just named, right? If I want to get some coffee in the morning, my day will start after I get my coffee in the morning, right? And so that, and also to me, weekends are important. Family, friends are important to me. And so, I've made it so to weekends are my days. Those are the days that I relax, where I do, what I want and need to do. And I don't feel guilty about that. I create boundaries, work boundaries, personal boundaries. And I feel, I'm okay with doing that because I need to take care of myself first so that I can be in the best position to help others.
Amen. Let everybody know where to find you, how to reach you.
So
don't blow up there. Don't everybody start texting her today because she just told you it's Sunday. Don't call until Monday.
Weekends are important.
Yeah, weekends are important. These fools
was that a sneak jab? Was that a jab at us, Aaron? Like y'all fools got me in here on the weekend.
No, she ain't jabbing nobody. Anybody worry about saying.
So I can be reached at 434-566-0764. And you can also look my practice up, which is Serenity First Counseling, PLLC, on my website. That is serenityfcpllc.org.
Nice.
Fantastic. Really appreciate you sharing some of your knowledge today.
Thank you.
Definitely going to have you back. Definitely have you back.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you.
City, I'll be back across the world.
Good job. High five. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
I to the ism, H to the ism.
That's just on my days. Look, used to dribble down in VA.
Talk show. You know how we do by now, Ron?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Big dog. Big dog. You know, you was out there killing him yesterday too. Was it yesterday or the day before?
I mean, you know, I do a little something.
A little something. Shout out to that couple that. What, did you do a wedding? Was it a wedding?
Yeah. Did a little wedding, you know.
Man. God, people was out there jumping the broom. You had them city
right.
girls shaking. You had them doing the cha-cha. They was Bobby smurtering. They was doing the smutty dance.
Hey man, you know, I mean, I got a bunch of jobs.
You got
I got jobs.
Yeah, you got jobs. Plural.
Oh man,
so
good, yeah, so Seville, and listening audience, you know, time for Aaron's advice. Y'all know we hit y'all with this every now and then, but the brother been making moves, been getting all that, you know, financial and housing education, and he got some gems to drop on y'all. So I'm gonna hand the mic over to my partner in crime, Ron.
Hey.
MLS.
See, you think you're funny. You don't know my numbers, and don't try to say it. Yes, brother. It is MLS 239-638. Aaron Simmons with the Aaron Simmons team. Aaron Approves Loans. I'm speaking as a mortgage lender today. That is my occupation. I just wanted to give my community and you guys just a state of the current housing market. Obviously, the whole economy, Charles, people have been a little bit I think the best word is uncertainty, and there's a little bit of the unknown, not knowing where rates are going to go, whether it's consumer credit card interest rates, those are going higher. And that's one thing I did want to talk about is that when we hear the Fed say that they are going to raise interest rates, typically that applies to, it only applies to like your credit cards, home equity lines of credit, and personal loans. Mortgage rates are actually they actually rise and fall as they fight inflation. And that's something that people don't really realize. So as you can see, currently the mortgage rate has been below 5%, I think, for the first time in about 90 days. So interest rates are starting to stabilize a little bit. And so I just want to encourage everybody, the price of lumber is going down. Also, the unemployment numbers have come out a little bit. And those unemployment numbers can also be deceiving, Charles. Because one thing that people don't realize is sometimes those people have 2 or 3 jobs. And so those people, you got to be careful with unemployment numbers. And also it's a response from COVID. So I always never think that the numbers are really what they're supposed to be. And a lot of those jobs are coming from the retail space and things of that nature as well. But I just want everybody to just be encouraged. There's still some opportunities out there to purchase property. There's price deductions every week that I'm seeing. I have a lot of realtor professionals out there that we're still, helping clients get financing for homes, and they're buying and selling properties. And so if you guys are in the market to look or to purchase, always talk to your local professionals, but it's still a good time. It's still a good time. We here at IMHO are always talking to people about saving money, being financially responsible, making great decisions out there, and just talking to your professionals, whether it's a financial advisor, shout out to Sean, down the Stifle, talking to a lender, talking to your local realtors, just talk to the professionals, and we can get you in a good spot. But the market is good. Obviously, we're still going to be going through some different turbulent times. They keep using that R word, the recession. I'm in the middle about whether or not it's happening or not. But one thing for everybody to pay attention to, gas prices, Charles, I'm not sure if you realize that, they have gone down. And they are starting to decrease a little bit. And a large part of inflation, what people don't realize, is gas prices. And the inflation rate, I think, was at 0% for one of these, for I think the last month. But a lot of that came from the fact that gas prices went down. So, the food is going to catch up a little bit, but everybody just keep your head above water, make great decisions, save your money. I know Charles is always out there making moves, always thinking about different decisions. And, I am an advocate for figuring out ways to make more income. Because making more money, regardless, is always a good fight against inflation. So there's opportunities out there for you guys to start business. So I'm just in a positive mood. I'm not a doom and gloom person, but save your money, think about investing it. And if you need help or if you need some tips, reach out to myself or my team or any of your other financial professionals in this market.
Dope. Can I ask questions or you?
Come on, C-Dog. What you got?
So, well, one is kind of a comment, man. One thing my years have shown me is that there's always ways to make money.
Say that one more time.
There's always ways to make money. You can always turn pain into profit.
Always.
You know, and I think a lot of us need to get an understanding of that a little more, especially when it comes to like the political landscape. You know, because you have folks that'll make you believe that if this person or that person gets elected, then somehow your life just has to be worse. And don't get me wrong, get involved, know the issues, right, and get involved in your political process. You know, I'm definitely not saying it doesn't matter. It matters. But at the same time, I'm saying that regardless of who's in there, there's always loopholes in the system. There's always opportunities, you know, out here in this world.
Your economic situation needs to be number one in many ways for yourself and your family, because those politicians are not going to save you. You save you.
Spot on. That is spot on. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. But you mentioned those gas prices, though, bro. Like the legend, the GOAT comedian, in my opinion, Patrice O'Neal, was like, "That's how they get you. Though. That's how they get you. Gas be $2, then it goes to $5, and then they take it to $4, and they be like, see."
Yeah, man. Look, got people out here selling their soul to take a gas in the car, man. But now, watch the gas. But guys, watch the price of oil. That's always an indicator of inflation and things of that nature. Food prices, I still haven't seen food prices alter at all. I've actually seen things get a lot more expensive. So just guys, you know, now, you know, just basic financial stuff. Some of y'all always eating out. It's time to start cooking. You know, it's just time to start doing the little things that can help save your families some money, and also an opportunity to congregate and everybody come around the table, have discussions. So sometimes economic decisions can help your family as well.
And I heard you mention the price of lumber.
Yeah.
So, but and be honest and transparent as you always are. Isn't that bad for the business? Because if people figure out, let's say, how to buy homes, or like even like build on their own, or like get their own supplies and whatnot, instead of feeling like, oh well, like I got to get a loan to cover all this. Isn't that bad for the business?
Not necessarily, because even lumber sometimes is local. So like, for example, somebody that wants to build a property out in, let's say, Madison County, and let's say their cost of lumber is $100 a square foot, the demand in Charlottesville is still going to be higher because of the economy that's there. So it doesn't matter what happens. $100 in Madison a square foot is not going to be $100 a square foot in Charlottesville, based upon the location. So real estate is always based upon the locality where you live. Everything is local. DC real estate lumber prices are totally different than Madison County lumber prices. So you have to be paying attention to what's happening in your local market to make the best financial decisions for you and your family.
Gotcha. Hey, Ron, if I hit him with that MLS number again, 555.
Look, I'm about to be like Miss Cleo. Call Miss Cleo. Like, you know, 1-900.
Call me now.
Yeah, call me now. It's NMLS 239638. Aaron approves loans. AaronSimmonsTeam.com. Love to serve you guys. And like I said, if you got any questions, just feel free to, you know, reach out, and be glad to help you in any way we can.
That's right. And in other words, what Aaron is saying is, I ain't made your talk.
All right, Joe. That was good, bro.
Yep. IMHO Talk Show.
You know what I was about to spit?
What's that?
When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call. Shout out to LL. Queens get the money. Let's go.
Somebody come get it. Max, raise away. I know when I need y'all.
Shout out to LL, one of my goats, man. One of my favorite
Big
MCs of all time, man. Love LL, man. Oh, shout out to all the around the way girls. New York City girls.
Really?
Hey,
really?
Man,
shout out to all the around the way girls. Really?
Hey, man, all the around the way girls. The Compton girls, Baltimore, Philly,
somebody cut his mic.
ATL, shouting. Nah, we just having a good time.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
I mean, they know how we do.
They know how we do, man. Shout out to the sisters, man. Shout out to all the ladies out there. That's a certified hip hop classic right there. Hip hop classic, man. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, you gave me. I didn't know we was doing. That's what we doing. Why you never give me the Jamaican the bloop, bloop, bloop? Come on, bro.
You throwing me off. Play some Ice Cube for
Oh man, come on.
Some MC8. But let's go ahead and bring some theme music up for this next segment. It's the questions, y'all. It's the questions. And in the spirit of the trademark Ask Max, I'm going to give the people what they want. So, what we have on the table today, once again, is the commemorating of August 12th. So the question that was asked, listening audience, to your friends here at IMHO is, should we be commemorating August the 12th? Should A12 be commemorated?
We need a definition of the word commemorate.
So okay, yeah. So
you know what I'm saying?
No,
we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there.
I feel you. So let's definitely give a little background. I'm sure everybody knows when they say A12, that is the term that's being used for August 12th, 2017, when the Unite the Right rally organized in Charlottesville. And so, since that, all I got was the questionnaire on. I didn't get a description. So the way I interpret it, though, is if we should, celebrate it. Should we remember it? Should it be like even a local holiday of sorts, to where we take time out and make statements about it, as we've seen, whether we march for it, whether we hold vigils for it, you know what I mean? I guess commemorate can mean all of those things.
So,
but let me just say real quick.
You good.
Folks know August 12th, 2017, Unite the Right rally happened. And a little background is, again, like that's been politicized in so many ways. It's been used for so many different talking points that, I think sometimes we forget the core of what it was and what happened. So the Unite the Right rally was organized by white supremacists, self-proclaimed white supremacists, Jason Kessler, Richard Spencer. And it was in protest to the removal of the Lee statue.
Right.
And shouts out to Zayana Bryant, even Kristen Seiko's West Bellamy and all those in the fight to try to represent our city well and represent our people well. And, by getting rid of the remembrance of, things that have that Confederacy, overshadowing our city. And it wasn't just the statue, was something to talk about. It was like, it was in, a centralized park. It was at a peak of the city, to where you could be on other rooftops and be on Carter's Mountain and you could see it. It was so blatant. And people that know the history too, there was a white supremacist back in around 1920 so in the 20s, I believe, who donated the statue to the city. I believe it was of the McIntyre family, excuse me if I'm wrong, but it was but you've seen street names, building names at UVA, things have been renamed because they realized that these were white supremacists who were teaching at UVA. The history runs so deep, so many ways you can go with this, right? But like, not to get too far off track, but that was A12. So Unite the Right rally wanted to have it at Lee Park. The folks in City Hall denied the permit, and on grounds of that it was going to be that the one that was too small, it didn't fit the rules for them to get a permit to be downtown for something of that magnitude, that size, right? So they wanted to say do McIntyre Park. But of course, folks, the organizers didn't want to do that because it was all about the Lee statue, wanted to be in Lee Park. So there was a court decision in the wee hours that actually approved them to do so, to still have it there. Like I think Rutherford Institute, I think, was involved about the civil rights of it, right? Which, is another part of the conversation. We're going to go down that road. Of civil rights is civil rights, whether you like it or not, right? Right? But, like, that's one of the touchy subjects. Ooh, that's so touchy, right? Yeah, that's touchy. But, so since they got that approval, the folks in the city stood up and elsewhere and was like, hey, no, that ain't, we don't agree. We denied it. We ain't going to let that happen. So that was August 12th, 2017, and we all know, all that has happened. Rest in peace to Heather Heyer. We know about,
Shout out to our mom too, Miss Bro, that we interviewed on the show. Susan Bro, absolutely.
Good people, love to you. I'm sure you're feeling a wave of emotion, especially around this time. And definitely, thoughts and prayers to everybody who's dealt with the trauma since, the physical trauma, of Mr. Martin and all, that had to go through all the rehabilitative surgeries from being hit as well. And then, just the folks who, like I said, the physical, the mental, all of that from that day, right? Yeah. So we say this and we approach this question from the listener of should A12 be commemorated, not in any disregard, not in any disrespect to knowing the trauma that it's caused. So knowing the deep-rooted history in Charlottesville and how that day and that time and how white supremacy just flares up all these emotions when you think about, just Black families and Black businesses here in Charlottesville, right? But the listener's question, like what's that question is that a day? Is that a time that represents us and that deserves our respect, deserves our energy to keep remembering? Like, do we as a people deserve to keep going through it, to keep reliving it? Like with how it's been taken worldwide and news outlets are talking about it and using it, and and people use it for political gains to talk about. It made me so sick when I heard in the governor's race, I heard in the presidential race, like they talking about it like they were here, or or like or like they had some sort of tie when really it was a political talking point. And so with that background, that backdrop, I believe that's why the listener's question is, should this be commemorated? A12.
I don't know about commemorated, but I think we all need to always go back to what the facts of the incident. I have a weird, I don't think it's a weird sense of humor, but I'm like, I didn't even have an issue with them leaving the statue up. I was okay with it because remember, I think I said this on the air at the time, you can put his name and right on the statue, when everybody walked past it, you just put white nationalists, white supremacists right under the statue. I would have been good. I would have been perfectly fine. Because then somebody would have been like, oh, Robert E. Lee, white supremacist. Okay, he was not a good guy. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how I think. Also, the federal government and stuff like that, Charles, they got I'm assuming they know everybody that was there. For the white nationalists, they ain't dumb. They know the people that participated. These are your lawyers, your doctors, your professionals. Y'all should have just made a nice master list and put it on the internet so everybody know what they do for a living. Hey, let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it 100. But that's not the kind of society that we're in. We're not in a society about honesty, and so I think it's important to commemorate the life of Heather. I think it's important to have condolences to her mom because there was a senseless life that was lost on that day. But in referencing whatever they were trying to accomplish, I'm not for or against it, but it's not anything that I'm going to celebrate because in this country, that's just white nationalists that's them doing, how we say in our community, doing what you do. Y'all just doing what you do. Yeah. But on that day, you decided to make an appearance with your khakis and stuff like that. Yeah. But we know in the area of economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, this is what you guys are doing behind the scenes. You just decided to come out there. But, we're going to try to create the kind of society that we need, which is a just and accurate society. And white nationalism will die. It needs all of our help. But in conclusion, in saying that, it's nothing that I think needs to be. No. But it's nothing I think should be commemorated. It needs to be acknowledged that that this segment of society did what they did and they took a life.
Right.
But aside from that,
yeah, but the question is like should it be an anniversary kind of thing? Like every year you said A12 anniversary. Let's remember.
for me, no. I think we remember Heather higher. I think we remember Heather because a huge part of that, which in everything that has come, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, what A12 also did was put the spotlight also on that big organization, that big conglomerate we have downtown called UVA, and some of the practices in the buildings that they have. So
we'll get into that.
It put the spotlight on that, and a lot of work has been. But it put the spotlight. If I go to the doctor, but it put the spotlight on that. So I don't know about commemorating, but I think we just need to be aware of what that day meant.
But something you just said, though, which was gonna be very touching. Like we said, like we gave our condolences, to the family and our respect. But this is something that's real.
Yeah.
Like this is A12 weekend. Let's put it on the table. Just like our good friend Adrian said, it wouldn't be us if we didn't address the elephant in the room. So Aaron, for you to say that instead it should be about remembering Heather. Do you realize that people get offended by that? Because you realize that people say, well, that was about Black Seville protecting Black Seville. Why would it be about Heather?
Not being from the community, that's the person that looked that, and I can let me say this correctly. I can actually understand why Black Seville would actually have that thought process from a person like me that's not integrated in the community, that's not from here. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It affected them differently than it might have affected me. So I'm not against. So if Black Seville, that's the way that they wanted to be represented or anything of that nature, that I totally understand that. And I think Charles, what we're also getting to is that there's no way to perfectly do it. Black Seville has an opinion of how they want it to be. Your average citizen has an opinion of how it wants it to be. The employees and the people that represent you. You see what I'm saying? But for me, the number one thing is that because I don't separate it, that's just white nationalists doing what they do. And we need to acknowledge that problem every single day.
Yeah. To that point. So let's
and we bark on white supremacy every single day.
Yeah. Now let's back that train up. UVA is in many schools of thought, especially like Black liberation thought, but just not just Black liberation, like just like truth, like truth to power, right? If you believe in truth, right? UVA is in so many ways the home of white supremacy.
Absolutely.
Thomas Jefferson University trained so many founders of other universities. UVA was teaching eugenics.
Absolutely.
UVA was teaching how the Black mind and race was inferior.
Right.
So for us to celebrate any of this, is an issue with, to me. And then fast forward down the road, when you look at folks like Richard Spencer and others, they were graduates of UVA. So to the point of white supremacy flaming out, not sure about that because now white supremacy shows up in suit and ties. They don't have to wear a hoodie.
Well, I didn't say I said we need to get rid of it. I'm not saying it ain't going away. No. We need, as a community, this is the problem that we address.
Fair.
The problem that we address. Yeah. And the thing is that, and I know that you have people here locally, and I know Tanisha, but I'm not familiar with, but in West, but the thing is that even with them, they do a great job because, especially with Tanisha, shout out to T, she's been always talking about these local community issues before A12.
Right.
This put a spotlight on it, but I don't want it to be confused about the people that are in the community that were already doing this work, that were already constantly talking about the veil of white supremacy over this city. That's why my opinion is the way it is, because you already had Tanisha and everybody else that was out here like, no. These dudes and these young men and these young women, they've been doing this all the time. Heather Heyer lost her life in this, but let's be clear. This ain't a day to commemorate because this is what we live in every single day.
Absolutely. And I was also of the train of thought and sort of the ilk of those who didn't feel like that it was our fight. Like at that time, I was at one of the alternative events.
Right.
Because if you all remember on that day, you had what was happening downtown, but you also had folks who were doing other marches, like all through the day, and other rallies and get-togethers where we were trying to show unity, right, and unison. Like, so I was actually moderating a diverse group, talking about pretty much what you're saying. It was a group of community leaders and stuff talking about like how we build, like like how we cross the racial lines and do better. So I felt like that was time best served, right?
Right.
The core of me, my belief was, if Charlottesville wants to call itself this blue dot in the red South,
there we go. Talk to them.
I need our white brothers and sisters to be on that front line. I actually disagreed with our people going down there and being the front line fighting against the Unite the Right rallies.
Right.
I was like, this is Charlottesville. Let's see these folks put their money where their mouth is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it was almost inevitable for things to go down that way. Right? It was almost inevitable.
Right.
And like I didn't feel like that was in any way shortchanging or cowarding out or not protecting the city or whatnot. I felt like they were clowns. I feel like Unite the Right with clowns. I'm not giving you attention. This is what you want. I'm not giving you attention. And again, if Charlottesville and the liberals here are who they claim to be, I feel like y'all were the ones that should it's kind of like how we say, check your boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like they should be down there checking their people.
And this is something that we've always talked about, but if the white if people classified as white and they're liberal, whatever that word means, that's another conversation for another day. But if you really want to solve racism or help end racism, it ain't that hard, because Black people are not always in those spaces to where people are communicating, having thought, speech, and action. You know the people out there that are acting as white supremacists. Stop acting like you don't. There are no secret. This is not a secretive. This is not a secretive thing, Charles. We act like it is, but it's really everybody kind of knows who the puppet masters are pulling strings.
Facts.
The problem is that when you have access to the information and you do all this speech, it sounds good. We want to help. We want to communicate. We don't need nobody doing kumbaya. We don't need nobody holding hands. We need, hey, Aaron, hey, Charles, this is such and such down at such and such. This is these are the things he does as his job as an attorney. These are the things he does at the plant and how he mistreats employees. That's how that's how real problems get solved. I don't need you to tell me you got a Black spouse. I don't need you to tell me you got Black friends. I don't need you to tell me you're going to the cookout. None of that is necessary. Do the right thing.
Right.
Just do the right thing. If you know people that are classified as white that are treating people incorrectly, you need to speak out about that. You don't have to do nothing. We ain't even got to be friends. Because problems get solved all the time. We talk about snitching in our community. People need to start doing some snitching. The problem is people are not doing enough of it. Because everybody knows what's going on. Think about it, Charles, when we're in the hood, right? The hood, and this is actually going to go right to what we're talking about. The hood, Charles, we got these dumb rules. Jimmy just shot Mike. But because of a street code, everybody know Jimmy shot Mike. Everybody know. But because we want to keep it real, and because we want to keep some code of ethics, we're not going to say anything about Jimmy shooting Mike. Even though we know Jimmy might come around and shoot somebody by accident next week, Jimmy might shoot a kid, Jimmy might do this, or it has a negative effect on the community. Because people classified as white are in a position of power, they don't want to tell what they know they need to tell. Because it goes back to what I'm saying is that I don't believe that you really want to correct society. You really don't want one. It sounds good to have all this kumbaya stuff, but you don't have to send $10 million over there to Haiti. You got people living in poverty right down here where A12 was. Are you really serious about solving racism? It sounds like you're serious about not being serious. But that's just me. I could be wrong, but based upon what I see, people are not serious about solving the problem. They're serious about acting like they want to solve the problem.
Yeah. You hit that nail on the head, bro. The nail on the head. Man, let's see. Another thing that brings to mind, too, it was actually May of 2017 we had Richard Spencer on the show.
we did sure.
Do you remember the calls for boycott and the cancellation? Like we wouldn't be the longest running program.
They would have shut us down.
We almost was
We
shut
was
down
down.
like
Yeah.
Chuck and Flake.
I remember. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but yeah. So it reminds me of that because that was actually May, and since it was before A12, some may say, "Oh, well, it was for naught or didn't help," whatever the case. But the whole point was anybody that reads Sun Tzu, which is
Come on.
critically acclaimed book by most strategic thinkers, The Art of War, right? And so, as we said then, and as I still stand by now, like I don't regret interviewing Richard Spencer.
Not at all.
Because the whole point was you have to know your opponent. You have to know your enemy, right? Like you win before you even step on a field. You win before you step on a court.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying? And so the point behind Max and I doing that was that it, like we were trying to speak to the community at that time that it's not enough to be angry. Like we get like, look at where anger has gotten us as a people. You know what I mean? Like you made the point about the hood, about our community. Look at what anger gets us until we strategically think and understand ourselves, knowledge of self, and understand who we're fighting and what we're fighting for. Then it's just going to be this cycle of discontent, cycle of anger, cycle of misdirected anger, right? Misdirected. Sometimes we take that out on our own homes because we just act in anger and not strategically thinking on how we solve these problems.
And the issue that I even had with people talking about boycotting Richard Spencer, if people actually, and Charles, we're going to be objective. If people actually listen to the interview, if people actually even read some of Richard Spencer's talking points, as a culture and as a group, Charles, what nobody wants to admit is that we hold some of those same thoughts. And nobody wants to talk about that. They're talking about keeping things to themselves, birth rates, being... These are all things that I hear people talk about in the community. We are people travel in packs and herds. I don't have a problem with Richard Spencer saying, hey, we want this to be right or right way. What I have a problem with is you mistreating people in order to get to where you want to go. That's the issue I have. I don't have a problem with somebody saying we want to do this over here on my side of town. That's fine. You don't have to mistreat John or Mike or another group of people in order to get that done. Because in my group, that's what I do the same thing. I don't have to mistreat anybody to develop my own culture, to develop my own neighborhood, to do these things. You want to conquer, take over, kill, pillage, and do those things. Can you do it without doing that? And from historical standpoint, Charles, the answer is no.
Right. And being pro one thing doesn't automatically make you anti.
Absolutely. You are fighting for your group.
Right.
I don't blame nobody for fighting for their group. The problem is that if your group is based upon racism and mistreating people, that's the issue.
Facts. You know, as Razor says a lot, I can't believe I'm quoting Razor right now.
Oh,
as Razor says a lot. We were only intended to integrate our dollar. He says that a lot. And you know, since we on the unpopular train right now, another unpopular comment that we want to deal with too is that it like a lot of what A12 and Unite the Right exposes about us more so than themselves, is the lack of accountability, the lack of actually organized. Because again, like we organize, like to me, within anger and like for a fight, like you know what I mean. But it's like, you know, I mean, like you mentioned our sister T, like she had a great post where she, you know, I forget the exact title, but it was talking about has Charlottesville really changed, or you know, is Charlottesville not really racist, or was A12 the only racist moment?
Right, exactly.
She had a great
That's what I was
post about it,
saying.
you know what I mean? And like that's so true. It's like there's so much day-to-day work that has to get done, and I feel like that it exposes the lack of accountability. And so your point about Richard Spencer, his comment to me was, I don't want to be a minority. He was like, I get it. Nobody wants to be a minority, right? And he even said, he was like, I don't hate you, like I don't want to hurt you, And like, he did admit, yeah, I feel like I'm better. I do feel like I'm superior.
Right.
But the thing was though, like, staying on an unpopular train is, it's not much different than Malcolm X. Like, and seriously, people, like, let's break this down. Let's break down, like, when you look at Black liberation, and you look at those who even, and a lot of those folks even vote Republican a lot of times. Now, the Republican Party, now, we get it. Political party faces change. It's not what it used to be.
Right.
But even when we were first free, most Blacks were conservative, were Republican.
Absolutely.
And, like, it was the whole, paradigm shift of I guess Democrats were more Southern, and like, so, but the idea of Democrat of like a Commonwealth does make sense. And if you think about it, inherently to us as a people, being more social, beings, more, family oriented, tribal, that makes sense, right? For us to be more democratic. But it took sort of that political paradigm shift for us to get to that. So my thought with that is that when you look at actually conservatism, like at its root core, and the reason a lot of Black liberation thinkers think that way along those lines, like I said, it's just like a Malcolm X. It's because there's an accountability for independence. There's an accountability of not, like we were talking about earlier with Shayla, of not feeling like I gotta fit in. You know what I mean? Like I gotta code switch, I gotta assimilate. Right? And like, but that takes a lot. And so my point with that is that what Richard Spencer says about, yeah, we're like, y'all go do your thing. Like, you leave us alone, leave our stuff alone. You go do your thing. So doesn't that fall back in our lap? Is it a fear of accountability there, people? To where like we don't like each other enough? You know what I mean? Like to do for self?
Yeah, that everything you're saying is true. The problem is that, and this is something that I actually heard somebody talking about. I actually heard Clark Kent say this on an interview, and I actually agree with it. But it's Black Americans, and this is we're not going off the trail, but what is our culture, Charles? Like what is our culture? Because we've always had to integrate or always tried to fit in, and we are in a society to where we don't even groom ourselves to have an individual cult. We groom ourselves to try to fit into societies. Because here's a reality, like white society through all the different laws and things of that nature, they created ghettos. So the thing that we celebrate or talk about were ghettos, inherently we didn't create them. We're surviving in them, but we didn't create them because we don't control where we go. Right. We don't control you see what I'm saying? Right. So these are things we have to be honest about, is about with the circumstances that we're in. And Malcolm talks about the thing that people don't want to talk about is that you have an enemy. And your enemy wants to control you based upon everything that's happening, everything you see. T and Wes, they not banging it because this country has showed us that we don't have our own political party. We don't have a culture, and we're just trying to even fight for survival. Now the tables are being turned. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing has been talking about this for years, about white genetic annihilation, and their birth rates are going down, and that inherently, if the whole world was a pot of gumbo and everybody just jumped in and started to sleep together, nobody would inherently be classified as white. Everybody would have a tad of melanin. That's a thing. Yeah, that's not something that the majority of the planet is non-white. Right.
Yeah, so the minority is really the majority.
Yes. Yeah. But so these are just brain parts that we just have to have as a society. But back to A12, Charles said it best, man. We have to have the ability to understand what is in front of us. It wasn't just khakis and tiki torches that people like to laugh at. It's that we will not be replaced, and we want American white culture to continue to be the dominating culture by any means necessary. And that is what the minister says. Do we have the mentality on ourselves and in our own communities and in our families to think the same exact way? And guess what happens, Charles, when that happens? That's humanity.
Yeah.
Cultures clash.
That's right.
And that's what it is.
Natural.
It's the natural clash of humanity. And so again, somebody and people, and like Tanisha always says, people have been losing their lives and dying in this community from white supremacy for years. Yeah. But on A12, that particular young lady and how she lost her life, It's pathetic.
Mhm.
And yes, black people have been dying and being killed at the hands of white supremacy. Mental health, just all of that.
Mhm.
But on that particular day, that was something that didn't need to happen. And it's okay to acknowledge that person passing away, and at the same time acknowledging how Black Charlottesville feels. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You can do both.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
stop acting like, you know what I'm saying? That young lady could have just been like all of us. You just go out there like, I'm just gonna stand here. Somebody gonna run me over with a damn car?
Yeah. And to make it totally clear too, like in no way are we, promoting like racism on the other end of the spectrum.
No, not at all.
It's because we know the fight has always been multicultural. Like there's always been folks of every shade, on the right side of history. You know what I mean? So definitely don't misconstrue that. Like really it's about the truth. Like the truth is the only thing. It's like for people to get offended and call it reverse racism just because you express your plight, like because you tell your history, right? That they may have caused. And like somehow want to take that back out on you.
Right.
Like that's the problem, right? And as long as we operate within truth of it all, like then man, like the world will be so good. But we can't operate in truth as long as there's that ulterior motive, though, right? As long as you got upper hand the game, you're not going to deal in my truth.
Let me ask you a question, Charles. Has there ever been a more effective form of affirmative action than being a white male in the United States of America?
That's my one.
Has there ever been a more effective? Like, think about that. We got, and this is where goes like Richard Spencer. All these people start talking about. They start talking about like, dude, you create the laws. You always are mistreating people. You're always deceiving people. You're always lying to people. Somebody told me that in order for you to dominate somebody, you ain't got to lie to them. You ain't got to deceive them. Just play the game head up.
Yep.
Play the game head up. The problem is white supremacy never plays the game head up. They always want to lie and to deceive.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to be here to just speak truth to people.
That's right.
Have people have some constructive ideas and dial in. Leave your comments on the show. Appreciate everybody that's been reaching out. But let us know how you feel about A12. Let us know what if you were local in this particular area, how it affected you then. How have things changed? Has anything changed at all? How do you feel about quote unquote race relations in the last 5 years since this occurred? Let us know how you feel. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook. Make sure you hit us up on IG.
We still being scapegoated. I got an answer for you. teacher, my hand up, teacher.
What you got?
Yeah, we still being scapegoated. I mean, like, look at the black police chief that was let off right after that. Look at how, in my opinion, Chief Brackney fit the bill of what we asked for and what even city government asked for. So now she's been scapegoated on a lot of issues. I mean, it goes on and on. Mayor Nakai Walker.
Come on, man.
Unmasked.
Timing, and even shout out to Nakai. Even she would say that even her election was a response to the things that were going on in the area. But she has also came on this platform and said that still because of the underbelly of white supremacy, she wasn't even effectively allowed to do her job in that role that she has.
Yeah, spot on. And we had Mayor Snook on. It was a great interview, by the way. Look forward to having him
go back and listen to that interview.
Yeah. But it's I got to mention on that too. I asked him the question. I was like, so things are kind of quiet in general right now. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. And he he had his comments about it and he defended their work and said, they're putting in the right work. So like we were transparent about it, but the fact is, Aaron, is like sometimes it's gonna be ugly. Like when you're dealing with truth, the truth can be ugly. You can't put lipstick on the pig and just think that it's gonna pass off as a beauty queen.
It's a pig, bro.
It's still a pig, bro. You know what I mean? It's so hey, CVL, Black CVL, hope we did y'all justice with that question. Should A12 be commemorated? Like Aaron say, y'all know how to reach us. Hit us up. Give us your thoughts. IMHOtalkshow.org. We about to play some Burna Boy last, but that was not the last of us. We'll come back and act a fool as we close this show out as we always do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right, coming back.
Hold on, wait.
You're listening to, in my humble opinion, only on 101.3 Jams.
Speaking of goats, and did you tie and feed your goats before you came to the show?
They are still hungry, and for my workers, go feed their goats right now. They need milk and some water out there.
We still offending people. I thought we offended people in the last segment, Aaron. Come on, man. No, I ain't made your talk show. Y'all know better than just give us a radio station broadcasting to thousands of
3 hours,
people.
3 hours,
and then Sarag gonna mess around and give me StreamYard. Oh, come on.
Oh, come on, man.
Think I ain't gonna act the fool?
Nothing can stop us. We all the way up.
Nah, man, but thank y'all, man, because y'all could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us because we taking Seaville to the world, bringing the world to Seaville on WVI 101 Jams, your home for today's and classics interactive hip hop and R&B. Right? About to close this show, but tell a friend that they can still follow up online afterwards. The show will be posted as always. And remember, y'all, that Solar Seaville weekend is still going on. You still got about another hour to get down to X Park, and you can participate in that daylight roll. All right, and shouts out to everybody doing a great job. Shouts out to Chic and Classy Image Consulting, our sister girl Kalala, doing your thing. Of course, Chief Rocker helping put that together. Yep, and also y'all, if you're in your cars right now too, that back to school bash about to happen at Townsler Park. In right prior to the whole street ball finale, where they about to have. So that's 3:00, the back to school, and then that's going to be followed by the junior championship. You got the 3-point dunk contest. Aaron said he may lace up his chucks and jump from the free throw.
I'm rocking chucks like Bill. That's what I'm doing. I ain't got real sneakers no more. Come on.
He gonna roll up the 3-ring kings.
Look, booty shorts, hoochie daddy shorts are back anyway, so I might as well be able to rock them.
Yeah, buddy. And then what y'all got after that, Wes? Y'all got the All-Star game, and then 8:00 y'all gonna be doing the championship game for this 2022 Tulsa. Man, so shouts out to all y'all, man. The city's been showing up for that.
Killing it.
For real.
Killing it.
And and this is going to be our last time on air live, at least live, most likely, unless God says otherwise. Before schools go back, before the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County goes back in just about a week and a half. So definitely prayers and blessings to y'all. Made it to another one. Don't take it for granted, folks, because we all been there where we like, I can't wait to get out of school, can't wait to be grown, pay my own bills. Bruh, enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Also, shout out to all the kids going away to school. My young son, shout out to Young T, about to go away to school. All you guys returning to school, going to college. All you guys that are seniors, enjoy your journey. Seniors in high school, seniors in college, all y'all kindergarten kids, all surrounding counties, Louisa County, Orange, Green,
keep our baby safe.
Culpeper, Fauquier, keep our baby safe. Prayers up for you guys. Stay safe. Enjoy your year, and let's get it.
That's right. Black Professional Network as well, teamed up with the African American Teaching Fellows.
Yep, absolutely.
Shouts out to DJ Flatline, First Squad. We talking about Denzi from the Block, teamed up to host this event and Cross the Tracks ENT. Of course, Discover Black Seaville, always representing the community, getting the word out, and great community partners over at Champion, the Champion Group, hospitality group.
Yeah, shout out to Hunter and the crew.
Yeah, Hunter. So August 27th, doing a little celebration of our Black educators, because the AATF Teaching Fellows is a lot of young Black folk that wants to teach and educate our next generation. So we're gonna do a little celebration, man. We're gonna do a day party downtown at the Champion Brewery. Celebrate, like I said, partnership ATF. Maybe we can raise some funds. Y'all can hit up BPN as well to get to donate towards that. It should be good, man. On this back to school thing, celebrating, doing it right, man. Because we need to retain this expertise, Ron.
Gotta keep it in house.
You know what I mean? Like folks go to DC, folks go Richmond, go to the beach and everywhere. But so much talent, so many gifts right here. So we just want to celebrate y'all. All that good stuff. And like we said, blessings for a new year. And we just played that GOAT song, by the way. You know, so much good stuff going on. So much greatness, right? We're talking about greatness, right? Greatness. And unfortunately, man, last week we had the passing of a greatness passed on to the next dimension, man.
Yeah, Mr. Bill Russell passed away, Boston Celtic legend, 11-time, Charles, 11-time NBA champion, probably one of the greatest athletes ever. I think one thing people talk about is his basketball career, but he won a gold medal in the Olympics, which I didn't know. He won an NCAA championship. The guy was a world-class track athlete, and so condolences to his family. But also, you know, aside from his athletic career playing for the Celtics and being the first black head coach, to be a player coach and win a championship, but also the most important thing was his work as a human rights activist for Black people in the United States of America. Everybody remembers the iconic photos of him, Jim Brown, Kareem, and all the Black athletes during the Civil Rights era. But I think the one thing that people don't remember, and Charles, I want you to talk about this a little before we go, is that Bill Russell was winning all these championships, and every day was going through racism. And I mean, every day. You know, his daughter spoke about, you know, people throwing feces at their home. Constant mistreatment. Couldn't even stay in the same hotel as the team he was winning championships for. Right. Actually going to the game, Charles, you know, getting 30 points, 20 rebounds, and winning the championship, and then they calling you the N-word after the game. And so I want people to remember, sometimes when you think your day is bad, you know, Mr. Russell, he persevered and had a lot of bad days, but he did it because he thought that human rights for Black Americans was important. And so he was an individual that can't be replaced. And, you know, we could all, the world would be a better place if there were more Bill Russells. I'm gonna just say that.
That's right. Man, he was Jackie Robinson on so many levels.
Yeah.
And I don't think he gets talked about enough within that regard.
Not at all.
Because we just kind of take for granted, you know, the way the NBA looks now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We take that for granted. I mean, he embodied the same legacy that Jackie Robinson did, man. And that gets overshadowed so much. And of course, that GOAT conversation, right? You know, because we have the young boy talk, like, you know, the barbershop talk, right? And it's like the one big thing is when they talk about Wilt, talk about Bill, they're like, oh, but look who they played. They were 3 times the size of everybody else and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, you got a point with that, but at the same time, it's like still the skill that it still took.
Oh my God!
You know, and the talent that it took to still be able to do that. I mean, because there's so many people. You know, I know we talk about Mr. Russell, but it just came to mind. Like, there's people who couldn't score 100 points in a game in an empty gym.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to be like, oh, Will did it. Look who he was playing. Yeah. Like, no, come on, bro. That ain't easy.
Not only was it not easy, man, but the one stat about him that I found incredible, Charles, is that from his college to the NBA, he never lost ever a do or die game. So whether or not it was him playing for an NCAA championship or it was a game 7, he was 21-0, which means that his team always won close games because he was a part of the team. And that's that's probably one of the most. Look, Jordan, LeBron, they've all lost game 7s. Yeah. They've lost do or die games. That guy never lost one. His team's never lost one. So, you know, condolences to his family. They're going to retire the number 6 in the NBA. And I'll be honest with you, Charles, that should have been done a long time ago for the work he's done. I didn't even know that was a thing until I just realized, I'm like, dang, LeBron, we're 6'2". But condolences to his family. But if you, young boys, young girls, you know, you want to do a little basketball history, check out Bill Russell, the athlete, the person, the humanitarian, and send somebody up for the nicest and see, as Jay would say.
All right. Sir Charles, Ron.
Gia.
You know, until next episode, we out of chill. IMHO Talk Show. Peace.
That's a good show, man.
Yes, indeed, bro. Thank you, man.